Support for this podcast and the following message come from ADT Security, helping to protect families and homes for over 140 years. The ADT yard sign is more than a sign. It's a line in the sand. For what matters most, there's ADT. Learn more at ADT.com.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Dave Mattingly. A Republican proposal to replace the Affordable Care Act is heading to the Senate. The bill cleared the House yesterday with 20 GOP lawmakers voting against it. Changes are expected to be made in the Senate before any vote occurs there. President Trump says he's confident of Senate passage, vowing health care premiums and deductibles will come down. The American Medical Association is among the groups opposed to the Obamacare replacement. A pickup in hiring is expected when the Labor Department reports April's U.S. employment numbers this morning. NPR's Yuki Noguchi says economists are expecting about 190,000 jobs were added to payrolls.
In March, hiring slowed to 98,000, roughly half the job growth that was expected. The big concern is whether April will show another sluggish month, which could raise questions about whether economic growth is slowing. That would counter most economists' expectations that growth will pick up following a slow winter. Another question is whether people who have sat out the job market start rejoining the labor force. If that happens, the unemployment rate, which had declined to 4.5%, could increase slightly as more people start looking for work. Yuki Noguchi, NPR News, Washington.
The Mississippi and Missouri rivers remain well above flood stage in the state of Missouri. Officials say more than a dozen levees have been overtopped or breached by the floodwaters, triggered by more than a foot of rain in less than a week. Some roads remain underwater, along with miles of farmland. Marissa Ann Lewis-Thompson with member station KRCU is in Cape Girardeau.
People who live along Cape Girardeau's low-lying Red Star District have already started sandbagging their homes. City officials are preparing for rising floodwaters from the Mississippi River to crest just shy of the record set last year. Richard Knopp, the director of emergency management for Cape Girardeau County, says they have extra help on standby.
The state of Missouri has stationed some air assets, air rescue helicopters here locally that are at the disposal of all of southeast Missouri.
Last year, the Mississippi River broke records, cresting at 48.86 feet. For NPR News, I'm Marissa Ann Lewis-Thompson in Cape Girardeau.
Concealed handguns will soon be allowed on public college and university campuses in Georgia. Stephen Fowler with Georgia Public Broadcasting says the state's governor has signed the measure into law despite vocal opposition from police chiefs and university presidents.
Governor Nathan Deal signed a measure allowing adults 21 and older to carry concealed weapons on many parts of the University System of Georgia's public campuses. Deal vetoed last year's bill after lawmakers rejected his suggestions for gun-free areas. The new law bans weapons from places such as student housing, administrative offices, and athletic events.
That law takes effect July 1st. This is NPR News from Washington. This is the final day of campaigning before Sunday's presidential election in France. As NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports from Paris, former President Obama is endorsing one of the candidates in a video message.
I've always been grateful for the friendship of the French people.
Emmanuel Macron's campaign tweeted out Obama's video message. Obama's backing is symbolic in a country where he is still very popular. Voters choose Sunday between Macron and far-right candidate Marine Le Pen. The two have starkly different visions for the future. The pro-EU Macron says he wants France to be open to the world and competitive. Le Pen says she'll leave the EU and close borders to protect the French from globalization and immigration. Obama called the French election important to the world and the values we care about.
I am supporting Emmanuel Macron to lead you forward. Vive la France!
Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
Moscow says de-escalation zones in Syria agreed to by Russia, Iran, and Turkey will be closed to military aircraft from the U.S.-led coalition. Russia's representative at this week's Syrian talks in Kazakhstan says Syria's Air Force will enforce that ban, adding U.S.-led coalition flights targeting ISIS will be allowed in other areas of the country. China is celebrating a first. A large Chinese-made airliner took off today on a test flight. It marks a major step for China as it attempts to compete with Airbus and Boeing. The test flight is about 3 years behind schedule, a delay blamed on manufacturing problems. I'm Dave Mattingly, NPR News, in Washington.
Hi, it's Rachel Martin with NPR News. And you know what? We're doing something new, and we want you to be part of it. It's called Up First. It's the morning news podcast from NPR. It's a way for you in about 10 minutes or so to get up to speed on the news of any given day. The most important stories, the biggest ideas, the stuff you need to know as you go through your day. Up First, it starts April 5th. You can get it at NPR One or anywhere you listen to your podcasts.